Today, I'm very simply playing Aggro Solar Flare. It's a very simple deck. It's a classic. It's been nerfed a lot, obviously, with Haunted Pumpkin being nerfed, Blooming Heart being nerfed. I took that out of the deck because it was Apple Saucer, Elderberry. It's all kind of been nerfed a bit, but we have gotten some buffs. Wild Berry's buffed, same with Power Flower, which, it used to be Bloomerang in this deck, in some variants, but I think Power Flower is good. So we're going to try it out, and the main reason that I'm playing this deck is because it's simple, it doesn't require thinking, and I want to talk about books. I love books. I don't love books. I haven't read a book in a very long time. However, I went camping last week, and we had a lot of free time, as you do on camping. It's kind of weird with camping. If you're going for like one day, like one night, you're just doing the camping things. You're like making a fire, setting up your tent. You don't have a lot of time for freedom, or for okay, let me mulligan, sorry. You don't have a lot of time to, like, free time. That's the easy way to say it. But the second you go for 2 nights, you have a day of, like, complete boredom. Now, obviously, you fill that with hiking and stuff. But if you don't, then you end up in the situation I am in, or I was in. And so I read the entirety of a book in, like, 3 days, which I don't think I've ever done. I've read books, I don't think I'm as illiterate as many people my age, but that's just not what I play Plants vs. Zombies Heroes. I don't, do that. So, if they have Acid Rain, this double Haunted Pumpkin play will be very bad, but we'll just pray they don't, or that they play a card. So the book I read was a book I had read before. This was a reread. It's called Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. I hope by the end of the video you'll be interested in reading it. But I read it for AP Language and Composition, like 2 years ago. So I'd read it before, but I figured I'd reread it because I remember it being a very fascinating book. And of course, I was right, which is why I'm making a YouTube book report on it while playing Plants vs. Zombies Heroes. So for those in my audience who haven't read it, which, for a Plants vs. Zombies video, I'm going to say, give me like 10% of you, and if you're the 10%, comment down below, shouts out. So it's a dystopian novel set in California. It's kind of so I'm going to look to the right of my screen. I wrote down my own notes. I'm not reading Spark Notes, I swear. So it's like a dystopian predictive future, where the main character, it's set in California, California as the kids say. They're gonna let this damage go through? That's really interesting. I mean, these are kind of bad trades either way. Is this crazy? It's a little crazy, but I think it's fine. So yeah. Our main character lives in a walled neighborhood in California, raised by a religious family, and around her, there's, the dystopia building up is, I would say, one of the most realistic dystopias I've found. It's not like they want to burn all books or like a zombie apocalypse, but it's just increasing cost of living. A lot of people are homeless now. There's new drugs that are causing chaos. And, it's leading to these classes of people who can survive in walls and those who can't. And I will say, I think the book emphasizes that California is kind of the worst in this world. It's been hit the hardest. So in other places, it's not like to that point yet. But it's the beginning of a apocalypse of some sense. That's, not the right word, but it'll do. This person is really ignoring the bigger threats at play, which is me. Just like Sophie's family ignores the bigger threats. That's a reference for all those that have read the book. So, yeah. That's kind of, I would say eventually it devolves into there's a bit of a narrative on safety versus freedom, right? Where you could live in a company town with armed guards, but you never have a gun again. Probably you'd be in debt, and that might just be the rest of your life in there. This game is very close to winning. In fact, I don't think there's any way he wins. I mean, I guess he'll get crazy tricks from Chemist. Oh, and they'll be 2 cheaper. So honestly, he's setting up for something big, but not big enough by my calculations. So yeah, one thing I found interesting, which I didn't really catch on my first read through, that's a good start for him. However, I could play strike through, but then I can only play one. So I think I'm going to do a play like this. I think that's pretty good. So it was written in 1993, but it was set between 2024 and 2027. So I think I read it in 2023, so it didn't quite hit as hard. But, like, right now we're in the middle of what the events predicted. And there's no sci-fi. It's not like they predicted aliens. So it is a very accurate like, what the author thought our world could be. Now, obviously, probably if things went worse. I win this game. Nice. And I even win it like that. Oh, and I dropped my phone. Oh, no, I dropped my phone in the crack of the... Okay. We're here. I don't want to concede. Nice! Okay. So without further ado, and there's the ads. Okay, we can X. That's silly. Maybe that ad will dox me. I didn't recognize it, so I think it's fine. So yeah, without further ado, I want to just go over what I thought the book in its, like, setting got kind of right and wrong, because I think it's a very interesting exercise in how our world has kind of, like, developed unexpectedly. And so for starters, there's definitely some elements of racism, which is understandable. Okay, hopefully I get... That's not what I would have wanted to get. Because now our aggro is kind of not aggro. We're almost playing control for a bit. Not good. So there is racism. But I think it's kind of different than the racism in the US, at least, that we have. So it kind of like, full class division is kind of how it predicted racism to take fold. Or class race division. So kind of like mixed race couples looked down upon. Now in the 90s, in the aftermath of the civil rights movement, I mean, I think there's, that's not a crazy prediction, but I think now we kind of have a more nationalist form of racism through, like, anti-immigration. Which, one could posit that that's not racist, but it is. I'm just gonna say it like that. That's just kind of... I'm not gonna argue on that. Secondly, a very real problem in that book is the drug epidemic. They have a drug called pyro, which causes people to want to set fires. It makes a form of ecstasy when you watch a fire burn. So I could berry blast that. It's going to kill my aggro, and it's also going to let the space-time get a hit. But I think, this is just unstoppable, so I kind of need to do that. Unlucky. So they have pyro, which is a very, societally damaging, like, implicitly drug, because it's causing all these addicts to start fires and burn everything. Now, we have, like, the fentanyl epidemic, which is bad. Spoiler alert. It's killed a lot of people. I was watching Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan, and it's the leading cause of death in America for people under 50, which is, like, more than car crashes, more than cancer, which is kind of crazy. So... yeah, but it's a little less implicit of, like, a societal damage to our fabric, where, it's not good for drug addicts to die, to overdose, because they didn't know fent was in something, whatever. But I think it's still a pretty accurate prediction, because it is a much more damaging drug than the epidemics, crack in the 90s. So now... that's weird. I feel like he's setting up for something, because this would be a really... He would just play it in this lane. Maybe he's trying to strike through. I don't know what he's doing. Oh, so something's going to move into this lane. I think I'm just going to try and pump the strike-through damage in, because I kind of can. Wait. This didn't get -1. I guess because it got the buff afterwards? Kind of interesting. So yeah. And then the other thing I would comment on this book is a president gets elected in the 2024 election, whose name is Christopher Donner. I might have gotten the first name wrong there. But he's a very far-right authoritarian president. Specifically, he lowers the minimum wage and makes legal company towns where you're only paid in room and board or company script, which are very abusive things, slavery-like, which the book even comments on. There was more overt slavery in the book. Okay, I need to focus on the game for a second. So that was a one-hit, my laser beam, which is good. So now I'm in a lot of win conditions here. I could play that there. I could use it for a base to evolve. If he plays another zombie... Okay, so he has 3. He could get freeze all to stop me. So I don't think if I have 2 strike-throughs, I win this turn. So I might do that for starters. And then this is kind of a passive turn, to be honest. But we'll get the Astrocado down. If our laser beam gets a hit, awesome. If our laser beam procs block and he gets acid rain, that's very sad. So Donner, I think, is a... If we didn't know Trump was going to be our president, I think Donner's a very good guess. In the aftermath of Reagan, I think it's easy to assume that a further right president in a time of crisis would go, like, very economically, hands off, lax regulations. Because that's the Republican, like, memo. M-O, not memo, M-O. For, like, most of the 20th century, and we win. It's already 13 minutes, so we're gonna speedrun. So that makes sense. They couldn't really have predicted Trump exactly, because he's kind of avoided that aspect of republicanism and, more done other issues. But I think it's still really heads up to get something so accurate as Donner. Also, I haven't looked this up. Maybe this is like a known thing. Donner Party, cannibalism, maybe he's like, it's a commentary of how he's eating an already dying country to save himself, corruption, something like that, I don't know. The other biggest thing the book didn't predict was smartphones, was Awesome Plants vs. Zombies Heroes, because they tried to, VR was kind of a prediction, and, flat screen TVs, but a handheld device that has the internet, and you can communicate with anyone, anytime, get any information you want, that's just unpredictable. I mean, it's not unpredictable, but it's such a big cultural shift that, would have changed how the book went, but there's nothing really you can do about that. So that's kind of my thoughts on Parable of the Sower. I think it was a really good book. I'm really glad I read it, and I got so much more out of it the second time I read it than the first. And so, thank you to my English teacher for forcing me to read the book. Thank you to you for watching. And thank you for my opponents for losing.